My name is Mike Jolicoeur. I'm a tour manager. Worked for a lot of different bands. De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Most Def, presently Common. Recording artists play a live show. That's my responsibility to move that entourage from city to city based on what the routing for the tour is. I kind of got actually thrown into it in 1989. I was going to school, I was actually pursuing a accounting degree. I was on that track, and that's really what I wanted to do. My brother, who's actually one of the members of De La Soul, asked me to come on the road with him and handle their affairs. The guy that they had doing it was more focused on hanging out and partying than he was on doing what he needed to do. Ironically, I was so set on going to college, getting a degree, and being an accountant. That was what my dad was. I figured the best person to speak to about it was my dad, because I thought for sure he would move me away from trying to do that. I spoke to my pops and I was like, Dave brought up this opportunity. What do you think? I'm going to school. Give me your thoughts on it. I want to get your take on it, because I thought for sure he's going to be like, nah, I'll stay in school. And my dad told me the best education I could get is from traveling the world, and that it would be an opportunity that might not be available to me later in life. And he told me actually that traveling would be like a different college. As much as I thought he was going to be the person to kind of push me away from it, he was the person that I'll say sealed my fate in terms of actually being a tour manager. I think my biggest thing is I've been a little anal. And I think for the job I do, it's one of the requirements in terms of your personality. I've always been a person who, if, like, it's funny, my mother used to tell me and my brother to clean up. And then by the time we were teenagers, she didn't ask him anymore, because when he cleaned up, he was more about moving things around and making them look orderly, as opposed to me. I was a person that would clean up. You know how, like, you have a cup on a table or you have a box on the floor, and let's say there's juice around the cup or there's dust around the box on the floor. I've never been the one that could just clean up around the cup or sweep up around the box and be okay with it. Like, I had to lift up the cup and wipe under it, or I had to move the box and make sure I completely cleaned up the dust. Those are real basic examples of, I guess, that degree of being anal. But I think for me, the thing that's been most constant is attention to detail and having something inside of me that kind of nagged me when something wasn't completed to the utmost point of completion that it could be. That stayed with me basically, so far at least, my entire life. I'm a perfectionist. Yes, I am. The entertainment business is a lot about who you know and who you're related to. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't have a certain skill set and a certain drive, you're not going to be successful. Just like in a normal corporate job, submitting your application isn't enough. There has to be some kind of personal connection that you have with these people to kind of at least get yourself a job that has some degree of mobility, where you can kind of eventually say that you're actually doing something in the industry. In terms of entering the industry, it was a lot more, I would say, loose in terms of, I think the people who are actually running those businesses, which are the artists themselves, hadn't grown to a point where the business was as official as it is now. So I think that people were more accustomed to hiring people that they were familiar with, hiring friends, hiring family. Nowadays, I think business has progressed so much. A lot of times you have independent contractors that bands hire but don't know the person from Adam. I think because in a lot of instances the industry was a lot less formal, it created a lot more space for you to be able to find a place to fit in any business. If you got people who employ you who have decent heads on their shoulders, if you're not doing what you need to do and are able to excel at it, then of course you're not going to last. But I definitely think way back then it was easier to fit in. Not to mention the numbers wasn't as high. Everything is double, triple, quadruple check. So I don't think it would have been the same if I would have tried to get in, like, let's say now versus, I'm thinking, like, almost 25 years ago. I think for me, my crowning achievement in my life is just being able to look in the mirror and being happy with me. I'm a good dude. I'm loyal to people. I care about people. Other people's successes don't get me down. I'm not a jealous person. I'm not a prideful person. I'm a good citizen. In this world, in this day and age, especially growing up, I think in the time that I grew up with all the things that was going on, crack era, all the kind of craziness, young black males out in the street, police and all that kind of stuff. And just even being on the road, which, as a tour manager with the sex, drugs, rock and roll, which is a big part of it. It really is. I'm just happy that a lot of that stuff didn't jade me and put me in a space where I couldn't look at myself and see right from wrong. And I'm a dude that when I see a spider in the house, I wrap it up in tissue and take it out and actually like try to shake it off the tissue and let it live because that's one of God's creatures with a soul. I'm that dude. I think Jesus will be pleased with it. I really feel like he would say, you really worked hard to give your clients the best that you could give them. Nobody at any job, you don't hit a home run every time you go up to the plate. You're going to falter, make some mistakes, and you're going to do some things that if you was in somebody's employ, that person wouldn't be happy with you and that person wouldn't be pleased. The issue is when you make those mistakes or you have those missteps, how you recover from that? What did you do next that kind of showed this person your value? And so I have those in my career. I remember those moments, but those moments also the ones that drive me. Those are the ones that keep me on my P's and Q's. I try to keep them few and far between. But I think Jesus in general would be very pleased. I think he'd be happy with my work ethic, my loyalty, me striving to just really be the best. Being a tour manager a lot of times is a selfless job. And it's a job where you can have pride, but you still need to be a very humble person. One of the biggest things he'd be happiest with me about is that I was able to master that and conquer that and not let my pride as a man and as a person interfere with my ability to be in service of someone else to do my job. I think overall he'd be like, yeah, you did your thing. In respect to the job, I think God would say the same thing. People who love you don't just butter you up and give you the goodness. They tell you about yourself. So I think he would say that there was times you got a little lazy. There was times you could have shown better judgment. There was times, especially like in the early part of my career, I've transformed from being a kid to being a grown man. When you're a kid, you make kid choices. You have kid reactions and you process things like a kid. So for me, there was a huge learning curve because at 19, I was dealing with people that was like 30, 35. These was men, at least like the promoters and the production managers and all these other people in the houses, the venues I would walk into. And I was on the road with like 10, 12 people. So it's not only trying to keep my emotions in check, I'm out there with like teenagers, young adults as well that I'm responsible for in a lot of ways. So at that time, you make a lot of decisions like you do now, like I do now, but it was just a different degree of experience. But you make your decisions based on the breadth of experience that you have. So being 19 and being out there was times that, I made judgment calls. I learned from it, but I could have made better judgment calls. I could have been more patient. I didn't have an understanding of people, of personalities. And I didn't factor in people's humanity. You don't feel good today, you had an argument with your wife, your kids getting bad grades, whatever the case may be, your mother ain't well, whatever. So there's a lot of things I didn't factor in. So it made me make my choices a little funny. So I think God would definitely be in all knowing. I think he would definitely chastise me a little bit for those miscues and missteps, and definitely for the times where I had already done them and found my way to repeat them. I definitely think he would say something about that. But I do believe overall, he knows where my heart is and my dedication and my commitment. And I think overall, he'd be like, considering where you were and where you've come and how you've grown in your professionalism, you did a good job. Not that, I'm not doing a good job, but I think do a better job. I think that when you go to a show, it's about an experience. Everybody there is trying to have an experience, believe it or not. The artist is trying to have a moment. The fans are definitely trying to have a moment. But the people you don't see, like the house crew and the production manager and maybe the front office of the building, everybody's trying to have an experience, be it this crazy kind of experience or an effortless night. The sound men want things sonically to sound amazing. Everybody wants this experience. And I think my job is to try to create the perfect experience for each class of people when I walk into a venue. If you can create an amazing experience, people begin to comment on the experience, which means in essence they're commenting on you. Yo, so and so came through and the show was amazing. I had such a good time. From the artist standpoint and even the fan standpoint, you don't get that recognition. You never are. You sort of like a basketball player on the bench, but when you come in, you grab 15 boards. Don't nobody care about the dude who's pulling down 15 boards. They want to know about the dude who dunked, the dude with the crossover, all of that. So you don't get that kind of praise. And if you working and looking for that kind of praise, you're in the wrong business. So from the fans and the artists and those kind of people, you're not gonna get that kind of recognition. In terms of my brand, you definitely get that recognition from all the behind the scenes people, the promoters, the working crew, the front office of the building, all those people, they start to say, hey, we just booked Common, great. But they're not only saying great because they dig his music, they know because it's gonna make for an easy day, or what I describe as them being able to fulfill their experience for the day, whatever that agenda is. They're going to come in, their crew is going to be tight. I know Mike is out there with them. He's going to make sure that people are where they need to be, when they need to be there. They're going to come into our house respectful. They're going to play on time. It's going to be easy to settle up all the money. They're going to have all the stuff that they need. They're going to speak to my people with a degree of respect. They know their business. You create an experience for that branch of people that's amazing. And then ultimately, if you do that enough times, people begin to talk about you, which is basically your brand, and how good it is and how great it is and how fun it is to work with and how easy it is and professional it is. And, that word spreads and hopefully it follows you like any brand, I guess. Chaperones, I guess is a word I would use. I don't think there's enough people being honest with people. And I don't think that there are enough people who are willing to take constructive criticism and have people be honest with them. I know that's like a blanket statement. I get that. But in my time, especially when I was coming up, you had people who would really like pull your coat and tell you like what's what. Like, yo, this is not cool, or you're going about this the wrong way, or hey, there's a better way to do this. And had any sense, you would listen. This is somebody who's had this experience, is doing what you have been doing, what you want to do, what you're trying to do, and he's got something to share with you. He's trying to listen up and learn something. It also wasn't like nothing to something people. Like you didn't have somebody who was like doing nothing yesterday and tomorrow, they had a record and they sold 30 million records and now they out of here. Their fame precludes the natural growth process because they haven't made many choices and a lot of their choices have been 100%. They're not really in a place to hear your opinion of choices they make because they're like, everything I do is good. Why should I listen to what you tell them? Like, if what you were saying was right, you wouldn't be where you at. Look where I'm at. So I think that people aren't willing to take the same kind of constructive criticism. And then on the same note, people ain't willing to jump out there like they used to be to kind of tell you like, yo, that's a bad idea. Or, I'm talking about the industry as a whole. People get confused. They think that the 1% is really the 99%. You got 1% of the people in the entertainment industry who's really doing it, whether it's on, the film side, the television side, music side. Okay, you got 1% of that population. That's the 1%. That's the people that can do whatever they want to do, commanding ridiculous amounts of money, living a life you see on MTV or whatever. And then you got the other 99% of people who make their business go around, who actually keep it going. No disrespect, but like the actors who's acting in like smaller parts in a soap opera or doing like a big part on a sitcom, or the dude who plays like the 1,200 seat nightclub on a Wednesday, or, them people. Like I said, the 1% and then the 99%. You got all these people who a lot of times aspire to the 99%, but they really are part of that 1% pool. And I say for those people, if there was more of a community where people actually could give a person honest commentary, give a person direction, and those large group of people was willing to take more constructive criticism and understand that this isn't an attack, this is an attempt to help you. I think if I could comment on anything, I would say that to me, that's what's really missing. I don't know that I would, man. Sometimes the inequality of things is what makes them work. Sometimes the thing that you despise about something or the thing that you don't care for about something is what makes it beautiful. Okay, let me first put my disclaimer. I don't believe in fighting dogs. I don't believe in rolling dogs or animal cruelty or anything of that sort. I don't. But I always think about this when I think about a pit bull. Amazing breed. I've owned a couple. Love the dog. What a lot of people don't understand is what makes that dog amazing is its tenacity. For all the things that I included find wrong in dog fighting, I understand that what makes it an amazing breed is its history in dogfight. What makes it super human friendly, and which makes it a great babysitter, a great family pet, a great companion. Its ability to not quit a fight, which translates into it, you can play with it forever. It's focused on the task that it's trying to do. I guess what I'm saying is all the things that you would say come through because of negativity is what makes the dog amazing, an amazing breed. So I liken that to the entertainment industry. If you started correcting a whole bunch of things, I'm sad to say it, I don't know if it would be the same animal. I don't know if it would still be an amazing thing. Sometimes the inequity in things is what makes it great. That's not always the case, but a lot of times that's what happens. So, sometimes I get frustrated and, something will piss me off in terms of how things are done. But I think, like I said, it's a big soup. It got a whole bunch of different ingredients, and that's what makes it taste good. My biggest mistake has been I didn't recognize like who I was or where I was in terms of my career. When you're young, I was 19. So for me, I'm 19, I'm out there doing what I do and just trying to stay on top of my work. And I had a really strong work ethic. I was very focused. I didn't care about like hanging out with chicks and drinking and partying. Like I wasn't there for that. I'm there to do a job. And I was very focused on that. So in that, as things progressed, 5, 10 years later, whatever, it got to a point where when I look back, I didn't realize where I was. Like a person on the outside in would look and say, wow, you around successful people, powerful people, influential people. Like you have a lot of things available to you. And, you're doing a great job, but you're not networking maybe to the degree that you should, not really capitalizing on those kind of opportunities. I was so focused on doing like an unbelievable job. I guess I could have been a little bit more selfish. I could have been a little bit more, okay, I'm doing a great job, but I guess I didn't have more of a vision and a long picture of my personal career. I was so wrapped up in my career at the moment in terms of what I was doing. I didn't have a longer vision. So I could have been like, yo, I want to tour manage for Prince or Sting or Madonna. I want to like down the road, like, I want to do like huge tours, like 250 people entourage tours. I mean, this is cool, 25 people on the road, 30 people on the road. I got up to like, I think maybe 60 at one point. But, I want to manage like the 4 month world tour, that kind of thing. I think for me, my biggest misstep was not that I didn't have like a big picture kind of brain. That was just superseded by my got to get this done. This got to be right. This got to be 100%. Want to make sure that this dude is happy or this girl is happy. That part of my brain just kind of took over the other part. I would say that, if anything, it'd be that. Don't enter this business if you want a normal life. If you want, I'm there for every holiday. I don't miss any moments of my kid's life. My woman is always happy because I'm in the bed every night. Don't get into this. If you plan on having any longevity, you give up a good part of your life. When celebrities talk about, how to be a star, you have to give up certain things. If you're in the employ of a celebrity, you do the same thing. People gotta remember on the holidays when you're hanging out, the celebrities are the entertainment. They're working. So New Year's Eve, Christmas Day, 4th of July, all those holidays where you have those amazing moments, the celebrity is the entertainment for that day. So they never home on the holiday. When you kicking it at the crib, watching the Super Bowl from your couch with all your people, it was a great game. The celebrity is performing a halftime show. And they had to be there a week before. I mean, yeah, it comes with certain perks, but people don't realize that side. Sometimes you just want to chill on your couch and be with family. So if you want to have a normal life, then maybe this ain't the business for you. Entertainment business is especially touring, is a very organic business. Things change from day to day to day. You call up a venue or a promoter and ask them if they got everything and everything's straight and it's 2 days out and we've had 20 phone calls and 50 emails and everything's cool, good. And then the next morning he calls you back and tells you that the guy who's providing the backline, the instruments, suddenly there's a problem. He don't have the drums and the keyboards you need. Or you know what? They just had water damage at the building. They don't know how that's going to affect the show. Or, the generator, there's 3 other concerts in town, and the generator they needed to provide power. Suddenly, the guy who said they had a generator for your gig, they don't have a generator no more. Somebody who's a guitar player got sick. So you always prepping for the next day. You're going to hear some stuff that you don't like, have thick skin. Every generation has their own means of communication. If you want to go back to the Native Americans when the Pilgrims and the settlers first came here into this country, even them, apart from speaking verbally, they had the smoke signal, which was a part of their way to communicate. Eventually the telegraph and eventually the telephone and eventually the internet and so on and so on. I can't knock a generation's progress or take away their achievements because of the mode of communication they use. To me, it would be kind of like, I don't know, I guess I would feel a way about it if I didn't see a progression. Not only can I not knock it, I kind of feel like it's not my place to disparage that. What I can do is contrast against what I had to do in my experience as far as that question is concerned. I feel like they've had an easier road in terms of all that's available to them, the outlets, but sometimes more difficult. It depends. When I was on the road beginning, we didn't have emails and attachments and cell phones. It wasn't none of that. My first tour, like we had to pull a tour bus over on the side of the road, find a truck stop. I had to put quarters in the phone or have a phone card, and I had to call a record label. I had to call, the management office or whatever. Like we had to physically do that. Back then, they even had like fax machines at the rest stops on the interstates where you could actually send a fax. There's a degree of immediacy that you have with communication that I didn't have. That's why I say, in a sense, they had an easy road. On the flip side, I think there's a disconnect with all the connection that people have, ironically. They don't have the same exchange of ideas. A lot of times there's no context with that kind of communication. So I think it takes away from their ability to progress to a certain extent because they don't have that personal connection. I don't take away their accomplishments and what they're claiming. I just have a different perspective of how easy or how difficult it might have been. I don't care if you're using smoke signals or you on Facebook. Like either you have it in you to get this done with the tools that you have in front of you or you don't. So I don't think you can knock a person's accomplishment because you're not happy with one of the tools they might have had to use it. Although a very powerful tool, it's still a tool. Like they still had to have the skill set, the vision, the dedication, and the drive to get it done. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like I've been really thinking about like, what my next move is. Like what, after you've been on the road 25 years, you get a little tired. I missed a good part of my children growing up. I've managed to maintain a relationship, been rocky at times, but God bless me with that. I feel like she's put up with enough crap. My body is not what it was 25 years ago. I didn't abuse it on the road, but I wasn't the best to it either. And so, you get to the point where you start looking at, okay, what else do I want to do? What else can I do? When I was young, I always said to myself, I want to have a job where I'm not in the office every day. I could be traveling. I want to work with money. I want to deal with things. And honestly, I really got my dream job. I really did. And I also said I never wanted to work at one place for like a long time, like going to the same building, punching a card, 9 to 5. I never wanted to do that. You might work for the same artist for a long period of time. It would be short, a 2 month run, a 1 month run, a 3 month run. It was specific to that length of time. It was, in a sense, more project based. And I like the idea of taking something that is completely in disarray. It's all over the place. It has no beginning, no middle, no end, no sense of direction, none of that. And just kind of taking it and organize it. That's something that I enjoy. It drives me. So I always wanted to do that thing. And like I said, I lucked out and got my dream job because as a tour manager, that's what I ended up having to do. So I say all of that to say that I realized that I mean, you hear it all the time, but I actually experienced it. Whatever you do, you need to be passionate about it. You need to have, it has to wake you up in the morning. Whatever it is I end up doing, I do know that it's something that I'll be passionate about, that'll keep me up at night, that'll keep me giving my best and 100%. And when I finally do get some rest at night, I'll be content because I love it. So that's it.